Hello, I am Naoki Suzuki from Tokyo Gakuin University in Japan. It is a great honor to be able to speak to you today. Before I start, I would like to thank the International Organization of Health, Sports, and Kinesiology for inviting me to speak today. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to share my screen. Today, I'd like to talk about pedagogical innovations in physical education for Society 5. Society 5 was proposed in the fifth Science and Technology Basic Plan as a future society that Japan should aspire to. It follows the Hunting Society, Agricultural Society, Industrial Society, and Information Society. In Society 5, people, things, and systems are all connected in cyberspace, and optimal results obtained by artificial intelligence exceeding the capabilities of humans are fed back to physical space. This process brings new value to industry and society in ways not previously possible. The Japanese government launched the GIGA School program in 2021. GIGA stands for Global and Innovation Gateway for All. That was part of a government push towards a post-information society called Society 5, incorporating cyberspace such as artificial intelligence, big data, and the international of things. Realizing the world device for one student aims to ensure that nobody is left behind and that opportunities are equitable, tailored to individual needs, and enable creativity. I am going to divide my presentation into three parts. First, I am going to talk about the use of technologies to implement more authentic problem-solving learning. Second, I want to explain the use of technologies to visualize what is difficult to see. Finally, I'll focus on the use of technologies to connect with diverse others. Current PE focus on problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is a student-centered approach in which students learn about a subject by working in groups to solve an open-ended problem. We can use our technology to discover and solve problems for higher quality PBL. We have created VR content for learning of the jumping box movement. It is a 3D CG animation of the scenery seen by a person jumping on the jumping box, which can be viewed while looking around 360 degrees in VR. You can put on a headset like this and get into the gym. You do not hold the controller, but use a hand tracking. That way, when you experience this content, you can supervise your hand movement on the jumping box movement. You can change the height of the viewpoint to match your size. For example, try doing the spread leg jump. You can experience a movement like that. You can also change the jumping style, speed, and jumping box. Next, let's try a forward roll on the jumping box. If you try it with a headset on, you will feel a more immersive experience than you can see in the video. The most significant difference is that the body and feet movements are not depicted in the jumping box movement with VR content. So there is no correct answer for them. Then students have to explore how to jump over the jumping box. The target is quite different from the traditional running style. This is the jumping box movement lesson using VR. First of all, we use VR content like this to simulate the experience of jumping over a jumping box as if they were a player. The students share the feeling of the movement by using onomatopoeia and expressing their own sensations. Using this as a cue, they set a challenge to be solved. They repeatedly tried the jumping box exercise in search of the movement feeling they set. They solve the problem by showing the feeling of the movement while actually watching the video and viewing the video content after the movement to evaluate the difference from the actual movement. Okay. After the class, their reflections were recorded and accumulated for use in the next class. I am going to introduce some of the changes in the movement. This is the change of a moderate skilled student. He could not jump over a jumping box in the first period. However, at the fourth period, he was able to jump over the jumping box with dynamic and large movement. This is a change in the low skilled student. She was too scared to even jump on the jumping box. In the first period, she ended up with her butt in the middle of the jumping box. But in the fourth period, she was able to jump over the jumping box for the first time in her life. In this unit, there was no direct movement teaching from the teachers, but it is possible to understand how the students problem solve and change their movements. In an interview with the students, they all indicated that the VR content was helpful for their learning. They also said that they found it worthwhile because they could experience a feeling of movement they did not know existed. By experiencing the jumping box exercise as a player, they were able to clarify the direction in which they wanted to achieve the feeling of movement. The student interview data showed that they emphasized with the fascinating sense of movement brought about by the VR content and were eager to explore it. In addition, the exercise of jumping over a high object, such as a jumping box, can be frightening, and the students talked about how they were able to reduce their sense of fear as they experienced jumping over the box using VR. When exercising, they seemed to be able to exercise with their best efforts. Furthermore, they could visualize what they could not see in their motor sense. They were experiencing the jumping box exercise in the first person. However, as they repeatedly watched the video, they seemed to be able to visualize their body movements to jump over it and then confirm their movement style by trying it out in the actual activity. Perhaps because of this, during the interview, the students described a specific figure they thought they should move like this. This kind of student learning differed from the traditional practice of acquiring a form of movement. The interviewees were students of varying skill levels. However, regardless skill level, the interviews revealed that the students could equally simulate the image and sensation of jumping over a jumping box and apply it to real-life movement. In other words, each student could choose the activity that suited them, solve problems, and experience the joy and the pleasure of the jumping box exercise in equal measure. The above shows that VR content provided a learning resource that allowed students with different abilities and preferences to learn well. Next, I will talk about future assessment, which can be accomplished by visualizing what is difficult to see. The video used for game analysis also looks different depending on how it is filmed. I am going to show you video clips of the same play taken in two different ways. The first is a video clip taken with a camera fixed on the tripod. The next is a video clip taken from the sky using a drone. It's the same thing, but I believe that ideas they create have changed. I also use other wearable cameras, how we film them offers insight into learning tasks by observing the games. So therefore, we have implemented an initiative to use a drone to observe games while filming. This is of course, useful for teachers to check student games. But when students look at games from above, they can look at the game and the movements of players on the game board, making it easier for them to notice tactical problems. Of course, this is a way that can be used for a problem solving. But looking at the game situation from above has been a great help in finding problems as well. Drones are easier to fly and have a longer battery life than in the past. In our implementation, takeoffs and landings took less than 2 minutes, and we were able to capture more than 13 minutes of filming in a single flight. It is also useful to use a heart rate monitor as a practice to visualize the invisible. By setting a target zone in an endurance learning class, we were able to achieve a reasonably fast endurance run. The students were able to adjust their visualized heart rate as they run. And after the run, they were able to look at the graph to reflect on their run and apply it to their next learning experience, gradually becoming able to continue learning flat out. I think it is safe to say that this was a tool to guarantee the individuality and optimize learning. Recently, the speech recognition has become very advanced. Therefore, communication analysis software can be used to visualize discussions. Learners can obtain their communication data in real time as visualize information and utilize it in the discussion situation. In this way, the time of speech, the overlap of speech, and the way the dialogue takes place can be visualized. This visualization changes the problem-solving discussions. See the turn taking on the left. This is from the first half of the unit, and you can see that many of the statements are one-sided instructions by B. You can also see that C does not speak up and is left out of this discussion. D, who sensed the problem with the way this discussion was conducted, began to take on the role of coordinator from the middle to latter half of the unit, asking questions and encouraging people to speak up. And he changed to listen more carefully to others and speak up. Reflecting on these efforts, 74% of students reported that the quality of their discussions was better than before. They also indicated that records are kept and that looking back later is used for improvement. By providing images that are different from the viewpoints, students typically see visualizing information that is difficult to quantify and visualizing communication. Students have gained valuable learning assessment information. In addition, it was clear that students used this information to develop deeper learning. Finally, I will discuss future communication in new collaborations created by technology. It is not often that all students participate in the game as players in physical education lessons. I think some students may be courtside observing the game. When observers assess players' game performance, they can use technologies to conduct an assessment collaboratively. It is easier to share online tools if every student has a device connected to Wi-Fi. Jamboard and whiteboard are specific tools for collaborative working online. In addition, these tools make it possible for multiple students to write on a single study card. I developed the e-assessment tool that allows the three observers to share and write multiple game assessment information simultaneously. I am going to introduce one example too. That tool paid attention to the attack. The three observers divide the observation and the recording of each item on the slide. Observer A recorded who passed to whom and who shot. In this diagram, the pass went from student B to C to A, and the student A took the shot, but it did not go in. So a cross is recorded in the shot column. So observer B recorded a circle if the pass was good, and a cross if it was bad. Observer C recorded the trajectory of the ball. Team C played the game with a focus on making quick passes to nearby teammates. However, after the match was over, they looked at the e-assessment tool they had recorded and analyzed the results as follows. When we passed to teammate nearby, we felt because we passed more often and it took longer. So in the next game, we increased the long pass and shot with fewer passes. The player on the blue team has the ball. However, they cannot pass the ball because the players on the white team mark the players on the blue team. However, they keep moving into open spaces to get unmarked, and they can get a pass. They are making quick passes and getting closer to the goal. They are making the quick game flow. The students played this kind of game for the first time. At first, the ball did not move and the game kept stopping. However, once they understood the tactics, they could move smoothly, as you can see. Social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter are very familiar and utilized tools for students. SNS can be applied to a learning tool. It might deepen learning with peers in their class, peers in other classes, and peers in other schools. Students post their studies with comments on the video. They can also they can then tag them to make them easier to search. Other students can view, comment on the react to post. As shown in the slide, they sometimes post their photos of learning outcomes and assess each other's achievements. It can also be reconstructed as a learning history and used as a summative assessment. Also, these posts can be shared with parents as well. This organized version of the students' learning can be taken home and shared with their parents. Using the device, it is also possible to present learning outcomes at home and conduct portfolio review meetings. This approach will likely involve parents who are stakeholders in the physical education learning process. Parents submitted the following feedback after sharing student learning outcomes on the e-portfolio. I was able to concentrate more on watching the video footage than when I was watching a physical education class during school visits. It's easy for me to talk about physical education with my child, and it's easy to understand. It was an opportunity for my family to communicate about physical education. So e-portfolio has improved the students' self-assessment and peer assessment. It has also changed the parents' perceptions of physical education by communicating this information to their children and encouraging communication at home. As a result, the parents' involvement with their children was transformed. P class, also be developed by connecting different schools using an online meeting system. Students are excited and thrilled to meet students from other schools. They can also in small groups as well as in whole groups. We try to convey the movement to remote peers. Uh, they also communicate linguistically with our remote peers to deepen their thinking. In addition, they can collaborate with remote schools to create creative expression expressed on digital devices. The remote approach emphasizes the desire to communicate and to understand and promotes learning to understand each other. Thus, it is possible that learning across cultural backgrounds can lead to new creations. It is also possible to exchange with schools in other countries, enabling students to learn from each other globally. This video shows three college students dancing together. You can see how they are working on the dance, although only two of them are in the video because one of them is recording. One of them is still in her avatar, but her hands can be recognized by the camera attached to the VR. So the movement of her upper body can be seen. And as with the conference system I mentioned earlier, the face is visual. So activities can be developed as if the participants were face-to-face in a virtual space. Applying in this, fitness and dancing are possible with VR on. This is an actual class conducted in the metaverse. Students from Japan and the US are deepening their learning by interacting with each other in the virtual space. Whoa, whoa. Let's go. Box exercise was set down as an unit. You can see that the Japanese students playing the role of teacher is presenting the exercises in English. After learning a series of movements, students learn activities in pairs. You can quickly move from room to room, doing it while singing. If you are happy, clap your hands. When hands touch hands, sounds are made and visualized. In this way, it is easy to immerse oneself in the world of improvement. However, a major challenge is that the feet are not displayed in the usual system. This problem can be solved by wearing a unique device, but it is quite difficult. So we are currently practicing activities that can use the upper body display. technology that can be used to enrich collaboration with peers in the classroom and create opportunities to learn physical education in the context of the diverse others. And such options can create learning communities, allowing stakeholders to work closely together. Technology brings exceptional communication to physical education teaching strategies and create new physical education learning. I believe that the future guided by technology is an era in which the same as before is no longer acceptable. I think that the world of today's children is very different from the world imagined by adults. Therefore, I believe it is necessary to use technology to provide scholarly communication tailored to the characteristics of such a generation. I think this will lead to the realization of education that highly integrates virtual and real space and will nurture children who will play an active role in the society. 5. I believe that if we properly use technology to teach physical education in this new era, we can lead a rich learning experience that makes the most of diverse educational communication, resulting in authentic and equitable learning. These tools include equity because they build confidence and competencies that challenge assumptions and stereotype about which students will perform better or given an equitable opportunity. I believe that the pedagogical innovation in physical education brought about by technology will indeed move in the right direction if the people who are the users of the technology can successfully direct it. So finally, I would like to show you an example of the changes in the educational communication brought about the technology using a demonstration lesson I gave to college students that was open to the public in 2019, which you can access via the QR code and view on your own when you have time. This lesson is a part of the elementary school physical education class. It is a 45-minute class that I conducted with my students in the role of teachers using a net and wall game lesson designed for upper elementary school students. The 45 minutes lesson is summarized in less than 6 minutes, and the various uses of the ICT were incorporated into the 1 hour lesson. Okay, that covers everything I want to say. Thank you very much. Please contact me if you have any question. Thank you. Thank you for listening.